G'day, Aussie Mark here, and today we're having a look at a knife from Victorinox. This is the Farmer model with the Alox scales. Alox, of course, being aluminium oxide. It's a very handsome and very practical knife, and we'll just have a look from left to right on the tools that come with this knife. Sticking out the back there, you can see the awl. To the right of that, we've got our combination tool, which is a large flat blade screwdriver. It's also a can opener and a wire stripper. Up at the other end of the knife, again, left to right we're looking, we've got our can opener there. On the end of the can opener is the small flat blade screwdriver. Sticking straight up vertically on your screen is the wood saw, which is a really practical thing to have on this, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. And finally, of course, we've got our blade. It's a spear point blade. It's in the typical Victorinox stainless steel, which means it's good for rust resistance. However, it's not the greatest edge holder. The upside of that is at least it's easy to sharpen. It is 70mm long, that blade, with a cutting edge of around 63mm. I mentioned it was easy to sharpen, and someone might chime in and correct me on this in the comments, but I've been using the Spyderco sharp maker of mine, and it would appear that Victorinox use a 15-degree either side grind, so they've got a 30-degree inclusive grind on their blades. Whether that has anything to do with why they tend to not hold their edge for long, I'm not sure, but again, they are easy to sharpen. I find the Spyderco sharp maker works particularly well on these knives. We'll just talk a couple of quick more stats before we go on. Length opened, just with the blade open, is 162mm. The closed length on this particular knife is 91mm. Anyone familiar with Victorinox knows that they have a range of knives in different sizes, and of course this is in the range that are the 91mm size. It's also 14mm thick, the handle on it. As mentioned, handle scale on this is Alox, which I really like very much. It's a very handsome finish, very functional. It's got a nice texturing on it. There's not much not to like. The weight on the knife, 85 grams or 3 ounces in the old scale. And yeah, everything about it's good. What we'll do is I'm just going to have to change camera angles. We'll pick this thing up and go through the tools and one by one and maybe demonstrate a few of them. Stay tuned. Okay, so there it is all closed up, the Victorinox Farmer. Just have a quick look over it. As you'll see there, this is a 3-layer knife, which accounts for the thickness I mentioned earlier, 14mm thick. You've got basically 3 rows of tools inside that knife. At the back, of course, standard little keyring. Not that I'd use this as a keyring, you could I suppose, but it's quite heavy and quite large for that. So let's go through and see what we've got to play with in this thing. We'll start at the back here. As you see, Alox scale, little engraving panel on the rear of the knife. On the front, the Victorinox shield, which is highlighted in the red, which, you know, to my eyes looks absolutely fantastic. I really, really like the look of this thing. So, first thing we're going to look at is the awl. Now, I should mention none of these lock out there. It's all just on a slip lock design. Having said that though, it's not too bad, quite firm. You do want to be a little bit careful. This particularly sharp point on it, and that edge along there is quite sharp. You could cut yourself if you weren't careful with it. You can probably see there's a little right angle. We'll give this a test on a couple of materials. I've got a bit of old webbing strap here. I've already tested it once, but we'll just see how easy it is to go through that. Hopefully if I go through my finger at the same time. Straight through like a hot knife through butter. Very, very easy. So if you had, you know, something like a belt you needed to put a hole in, that would work. Piece of leather perhaps. It's quite a reasonably thick piece of leather. See, I already tried it once. Give it a hit again. Just spin it around there. A little bit more fibrous, but again, that's gone through. And that would be ideal if you did need to, say, make another hole in a belt or something like that out in the field, or for any type of use like that. That works really nice. No complaints with that. So I'll fold that one out of the way. What have we got on this side? So we might work in from that side back. The next thing is we're going to get to our main blade. Now, cutting tests are fairly dull at the best times, I suppose, but I am going to do one. The reason, as I mentioned, I've used the Spyderco sharp maker on this knife, and one of the things I picked up from my sharp maker, someone else on YouTube recommended, was the extra fine porcelain rods. And for anyone who's got a sharp maker, I must agree with that recommendation. They're well worth getting. That's just given this a nice finer edge. We'll give it a bit of a test try. Not too bad. Probably still a little bit toothy, but I'm certainly very happy with that edge on that thing. It does dull pretty quick, as I mentioned, but they are very easy to sharpen, particularly on that Spyderco sharp maker. So, and that's how it looks with the blade open. Again, just to recover that blade, it's a 70mm blade. That's 70mm from tip to the handle. Gives you a cutting edge of around 63mm. It's got the standard Victorinox blade markings you'll see there. Other side's plain on this particular model. Okay, we'll put that away. Should mention again, slip joint, it is quite firm. The good part about these, with that little bit of a choil, for want of a better term on there, if you're holding up like that, you can't really have the knife snap back on you. If you're using a knife in normal slicing, that type of thing, of course the force is against the blade, there's no reason it would shut on you. Okay, next thing in is the saw, which folds into the middle. I'm not going to demonstrate this just yet. I've got a bit of wood lined up, but I'll need to change the camera angle. The saw on this is I think, a really interesting addition. The measurement on the saw is around 73mm, around 2 3/4 inch, something like that for you guys over in the States. So it's not the largest saw in the world, but to have that capability on a little pocket knife like this, I think is really something quite special. And for some people that might be something they'd really like to have. I will demonstrate that, but as I say, I'll need to change camera angle, so we'll come back to that one. Next in, screwdriver, wire stripper, bottle opener. As you can see there, it's got the indent, so you can use that screwdriver for the 90° or lock it fully out. Not going to demonstrate the screwdriver, not going to demonstrate the wire stripper. However, after a hard day, you might want to see if the bottle opener works. Normally, straight off in one go. I was just going to say, normally they take a couple of goes around, but that one came off in one go, so that's pretty cool. That works. Moving right along. Last tool. We have, put some focus up, small flat blade screwdriver and the can opener. Now the can opener's, you can probably see the angle on one side. It's not the easiest and most natural thing for me, because I think it's very much designed for use by right-handed people. It's because they've got us left-handers outnumbered. So I have to use this. I'm probably going to look a bit awkward. And yes, I know I'm not the greatest user of these in the world, but I think I'm slowly getting better at it. Very slowly, I might add. Are they the fastest can opener in the world? Are they the neatest? No. Especially when I'm using them. But I won't bore you to tears too much of that, but they do work. With more practice, which one of these days I might actually get, it'll work. I don't think you'd have this in your kitchen as your main can opener, but certainly if you're in a situation where you had nothing else you needed to get into a can, you've got this capability on your little pocket knife. No bad thing. I'm just going to change angles now. We'll demonstrate that wood saw and just see what it's capable of doing for us. Okay, so I ducked out in the garden before to get us a bit of a sample to try the saw on. I actually used the saw to cut this piece off. So it's green, it's come straight off the tree. Not sure exactly what it is. It's a sort of a medium, sort of a hardwood type of a thing, I suppose. It's not particularly hard, not particularly soft. The diameter on this piece that we'll be cutting is just under 1 inch. So it's a pretty reasonable size for a little saw like this to get a test out on, I guess. Just going to whack it in the vise there, make sure that's in frame. And I've got our little saw out. And again, we'll just give this a bit of a try. Length on the saw, from memory, no, I do it from memory, just under 3 inches I think we said, wasn't it? Yep, so see how long it takes. Okay, it's quite sappy, that wood. That went through okay. I didn't time that, so I got no idea how long that took. Another go. Right, less than 10 seconds. I think for a little tool like that you've got in your pocket, that's pretty impressive capability. You know, sure, you're not going to go cutting down any major forest with this thing, but in an emergency situation, or just if you had a quick job you needed to do and didn't want to go rushing off to find another tool, pretty handy little thing, and it definitely does the job, works nicely. Alright, another angle change. Doing this a lot on this video. So, where does the Farmer fit in? Well, in my view, it could be used as an EDC knife. Because of the Alox scales, it could pass quite well as a gentleman's folder, certainly with a lot more capabilities than your average gentleman's folder, but nevertheless, it could do that. If you're in an environment such as mine, where the laws of the land say that you can only carry certain types of knives in, this may be something you can carry. It's got a non-locking blade, it's not one-hand opening, etc, etc. So in some jurisdictions this will be a really good option for a lot of people as their EDC blade. Let's just have a quick look at it with another couple of Victorinox knives that I've got here. We'll just see how it fits in the range. On the top I've got the Cadet, which I really love, and at the bottom, another knife I really love, is the one-hand trekker. It's got a lot in common with both these knives. Of course, what it's got in common with the Cadet is the Alox scales, the overall look and feel, but it's a little bit larger, and bringing it into frame might be a good idea. Not too much on the length, but certainly on the thickness. As mentioned there, this has got 3 laser tools, the Cadet's only got 2. So you will feel this one riding around in your pocket much more so than the Cadet, but you know, that's weight, and that gets you some extra tools, namely the saw and the awl. The Cadet does have a little nail file which you don't get with this one. The weight difference between the Cadet and the Farmer, actually I never gave you the weight on the Farmer I don't think, but I will again anyway, 85 grams or 3 ounces. Now the Cadet's considerably lighter, 48 grams or 1.7 ounces. So if you want something very, very light for your everyday carry, maybe business needs, whatever, slacks, that type of thing, trousers, suits, maybe the Cadet's a better option. You're probably not going to need a wood saw if you're around the city. If you're in sort of semi-rural environments or you just want to have that contingency, this might be a better thing for the businessmen in those environments to carry around. The weight won't matter so much. Of course, what it's got in common with the one-hand trekker is the saw. The Farmer obviously has a slightly an outdoor kind of a bent to its need. It's terrible grammar, but anyway. So they've both got the saw. The difference is, obviously the trekker's is just a little bit larger, so it's going to make the work of cutting just that little bit quicker. Also, naturally the trekker will have a larger and more capable blade. You can see a considerably larger blade, and also on the trekker it has a liner lock, which operates that way for us lefties, which I'm still not used to. I'm too used to liner locks and everything else. The downside of the trekker, well, again, it's thicker again than even the Farmer. It's longer, and you're definitely going to know this is in your pocket. But that's okay if you want those capabilities. Weight on the trekker is 132 grams or 4.7 ounces. So it comes in 1.7 ounces heavier than the Farmer. We'll pull those two aside. It just was interesting to look at those. You can kind of see the lineage in the knives and how the different tools are put in and different options. God knows in Victorinox range, if you can't find something to suit you, it's a strange day. The other thing I could see this being really useful for is if you're in an environment where you already carry, let's say for example, a locking knife on a clip in your pocket. You're allowed to do that in your region, and you are the sort of person who maybe has something like this, an EDC kit that rides in your bag or whatever. As you can see, I've got a single locking blade in here because frequently I carry a Swiss Army knife in my pocket. That's the legal situation where I live. But you might not have the need for a second locking blade knife. You've already got one in your pocket. What about putting this in here? Let's put the white around so it looks fancy. Think about the capabilities that gives you in your kit immediately. You've got a good blade, you've got a bottle opener, you've got a can opener, wire stripper, a couple of screwdrivers, and you've got that wood saw. That knife certainly would not be out of place in this type of kit, in my opinion. Again, it depends what you carry in your pockets, because that type of kit generally supplements what you have on you. So, in conclusion, I think this is a really excellent pocket knife. Sure, it's not going to suit everyone, and some people will prefer multi-tools, that type of thing, and that's fine, more power to you. But if you're looking for something with an awful lot of capability, you're looking for something that's probably just got that nice, classy sort of Alox handle look, the Farmer's really worth a look. It's a good thing. Sure, it's a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger than the Cadet, but it brings a whole lot more to the table, and it's probably worth carrying around. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the review, and take care. Bye for now.